Welcome to the Divorce the IRS Podcast, the retirement income planning podcast designed specifically for those who want to pay the least amount of taxes possible and build a retirement income that lasts. Inspired by the best-selling book, Divorce the IRS, you get to go behind the scenes with financial planner, author, and speaker Jimmy Miller. Learn how to set yourself up to pay the least amount of taxes in retirement when you'll need your money the most. And now, here's your host, Jimmy Miller.
Welcome to episode 33 of the Divorce the IRS podcast. Today, we're going to discuss some financial planning ideas for Americans living overseas. Whether you're already living the expat lifestyle or have always wanted to, this episode will help you understand some of the benefits you may be able to take advantage of from a tax perspective while outside the borders of the United States. Let's dive right in. Now, many of the families I work with find the years that they spend as expats are the most rewarding of their lives, especially financially. The trouble is, they're often too busy exploring, traveling, and working to give their finances much thought. Whatever your reason for moving beyond America's borders, one thing is almost certain. Your financial situation will become more complex. The good news is that you can limit the effects of that with good planning. In my experience, it makes a real difference once you're living abroad, and it can make a world of difference if you start before you even leave American soil. The idea of moving abroad has shifted from a niche dream to a mainstream phenomenon. Recent data shows a historic surge in Americans leaving the United States for both work and retirement. In fact, in 2025, the U.S. recorded net negative migration for the first time since the Great Depression, with estimates suggesting that at least 150 to 180,000 Americans relocated abroad in a single year. For decades, Americans have retired abroad in search of lower cost of living in warmer climates, but the numbers have grown significantly. The portability of Social Security benefits is the primary safety net enabling this move. It is difficult to track the exact numbers of Americans living overseas, but some statistics we do have access to paint a pretty good picture. As of 2024, or 2 years ago, approximately 760,000 Americans collect their Social Security benefits while living overseas. And the Social Security Administration sends over $7.5 billion annually to beneficiaries outside the United States. While retirees seek affordability, younger generations are leveraging remote work to live globally as well. The pandemic accelerated this, but the trend has only solidified into a permanent workforce shift. By 2025, an estimated 18.5 million American workers identified as digital nomads. That's a staggering 153% increase since 2019. And this isn't just a mid-career phase. 75% of American digital nomads are millennials and Gen Z. Historically, digital nomads were freelancers and independent contractors. Today, traditional full-time remote employees outnumber freelancers, 11.2 million versus 7.3 million respectively. And the infrastructure of modern work makes the logistics of leaving more manageable, with nearly 70% of those considering a move citing remote work as the primary enabler. Specific countries are now aggressively courting American workers and retirees with new visa programs as well. Portugal is one of the fastest growing European destinations, seeing American relocations nearly triple since 2024, driven by its D7 passive income and digital nomad visas. Spain currently ranks number 1 globally on the Global Digital Nomad Index for 2025. And Thailand and Costa Rica are both drawing significant numbers, particularly after Thailand launched its Destination Thailand visa in 2024, specifically targeting remote workers and long-stay retirees. If you're an American living or working overseas already, or thinking about retiring abroad, you may be wondering how the concepts in this podcast might differ for you. First, misunderstandings abound when it comes to U.S. taxes and living abroad. A lot of Americans erroneously believe that once you leave the United States, you also leave its tax jurisdiction, because that's how it works in most of the world, but not with the United States. The United States taxes its citizens worldwide, no matter where you live. America also taxes its citizens and green card holders on worldwide income as well. However, there can be some opportunities for Americans abroad, as well as some pitfalls. First, let's take a look at some of the tax relief available to Americans or green card holders who are living overseas. One of the biggest tax breaks available to Americans abroad is the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion, or FEIE. And for the tax year 2026, it lets you exclude your first $132,900 of earned income from U.S. taxation, up from $130,000 in 2025. It's indexed for inflation, so it ticks up a little most years. Now, a couple things worth knowing. The FEIE applies only to federal income tax. And if you're self-employed, you will still owe self-employment taxes on your entire income, even for the amounts that qualify under FEIE. It also covers earned income only. So rental income, pension payments, Social Security, capital gains, and IRA distributions don't qualify. So the FEIE provides almost no relief for retirees overseas. Another thing to keep in mind is that the FEIE doesn't reduce your tax bracket. The first dollar above the exclusion doesn't drop you into the 10% bracket. It falls within whatever bracket it would have landed in without the exclusion. So the FEIE only excludes that first $102.9 thousand of income. To qualify for FEIE, the income must be earned while living outside of the United States. You also have to be able to pass either the physical presence test or the bona fide residence test to be able to apply the FEIE to your U.S. tax return. Going through all the rules surrounding those two tests is outside the scope of today's podcast, but you can either Google those terms to learn more, or I'll put a link in today's show notes to my guide for U.S. expats, which you can download and read through if you'd like to learn more about all the things you should be aware of if you're thinking about moving abroad. The other main form of tax relief available to those residing overseas is called the Foreign Tax Credit, or FTC. This allows you to use any taxes paid in another country as a dollar-for-dollar offset towards your tax liability in the United States. This is often a better deal for Americans living in countries where the taxes are generally higher than they are in the United States, like most of Europe. Combined with the tax treaty that may be available, this allows the removal of most double taxation issues. In the real world, it usually means that an American will pay the tax rate of the higher tax country. The FTC can also be more beneficial than the FEIE because there's no cap on it. Tax credits can also be carried forward if unused in most situations as well. And since the tax credit doesn't actually eliminate your income as FEIE does, you may still qualify for things like the child tax credit and to be able to continue contributing to retirement plans like a Roth or traditional IRA while living overseas. Again, for lots more information and details on how all this works, download my expat tax guide from the show notes. Now, I like avoiding taxes, obviously, and another benefit of living or retiring overseas is the elimination of state taxes, usually. This one catches a lot of people. Many expats never think about a state return once they've left the U.S., but some states can require it anyway. California, New Mexico, North Carolina, New York, and Virginia all want non-resident returns if you've moved abroad from one of them. California is the one to watch most. If you're a California resident when you leave, you might still owe California income tax on all of your foreign income, and the state is known for going after people who owe. A common approach is to change your state residence before leaving the U.S. by obtaining a new driver's license and registering to vote in a state that has no income tax. Currently, 7 states don't have any state income tax, like Florida, Alaska, Texas, Washington, and Tennessee. If you have already left America, using a service like the one offered by the Savvy Nomad may be worth looking into. They help people legally change their state of residence, called their domicile, to Florida, so that state tax issues are completely eliminated. Another tax that most people don't think about, but I do, are Social Security and Medicare taxes. Most Americans pay Social Security and Medicare taxes on their earned income. If you live in another country, you may also owe those taxes for those programs in that country as well. Totalitization agreements exist to keep you from being taxed twice. Beyond preventing double taxation, these agreements also fill in the gaps in benefit protection for people who have split their careers between the U.S. and another country. Now, to be eligible for U.S. Social Security retirement benefits, you need at least 40 credits, which is roughly 10 years of work. An expat may not have a full 40, even after years of working abroad. Totalitization agreements count the work you did in another country when figuring out your eligibility. A totalitization agreement generally means that a U.S. person will only pay Social Security taxes in the country in which they live. The U.S. has agreements currently with 30 countries. See my expat guide to see which countries have an agreement with the United States, or Google it. Although there are more tax strategies for expats to consider, I think we've covered enough tax topics for expats in today's episode. In the next episode, we'll continue this conversation and explore even more tax strategies that Americans abroad can use to save a little money from the IRS and set themselves up to divorce the IRS when they retire, even from overseas. So stay tuned for that episode next week.
Want even more ideas, tools, and resources on how to navigate your financial life? Check out all the resources on the Divorce the IRS website at divorce-the-irs.com or the Baobab Wealth website at baobabwealth.com, and subscribe to the blog to stay up to date on issues affecting retirement income planning. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Baobab Wealth and Baobab Wealth Abroad are DBAs of Baobab Wealth LLC, a Florida registered investment advisor. This podcast is designed for general education purposes only and shouldn't be taken as legal, investment, or tax advice. You should seek out a qualified tax professional or licensed financial advisor to determine what is best for your personal situation.